When I say they, who are they? They're liberals. They don't want conservative values. They're the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender who want to change our culture. They're socialists who want to change our way of life, putting man above God.
Wow. Alabama Senate candidate Roy Moore is blaming a vast conspiracy for the multiple allegations he faces of sexual misconduct. Moore has denied he targeted teenage girls for sexual liaisons, including a 14-year-old, and trolled for teenage girls at their schools and at the local mall when he was a prosecutor in his 30s. And he will soon get some fresh backup from his most powerful defender. As the Washington Post first reported, Donald Trump will hold a campaign-style rally in Pensacola, Florida, just 20 miles from the Alabama border, 4 days before the December 12 election. And joining me now, Jimmy Williams, host of the Decode DC podcast, and Amy Kremer of Women for Roy Moore. I want to play an ad that the Roy Moore campaign is currently running in that Alabama Senate race. Take a look.
A vote for Roy Moore means securing the border, defending the Second Amendment, tax cuts, and conservative Supreme Court judges. And Doug Jones? Well, we'll let President Trump tell you about Doug Jones.
We don't need a liberal person in there. Jones, I've looked at his record. It's terrible on crime, bad on borders, bad with the military, bad for the Second Amendment.
And Jimmy, before I come to you on this, Donald Trump has added to that by also just openly defending Roy Moore. Let's listen to that.
He totally denies it. He says it didn't happen. And, you know, you have to listen to him also. You're talking about, he said 40 years ago this did not happen. So, you know, let me just tell you, Roy Moore denies it. That's all I can say. He denies it. And by the way, he totally denies it.
Does does Donald Trump's backing, Jimmy, wind up carrying Roy Moore over the top in all likelihood? Or does it matter?
I'm not sure about that. I don't know that it matters. I mean, I think we'll, see. I think he's going to Pensacola, which is about 20 miles from the Alabama border, 4 days before this special election. And there'll be some polling that will be done between that rally and, of course, Election Day. And we'll know whether or not Donald Trump is giving him a bump. But I'm not so sure that he will. What I do know is this. When those two men are standing on that stage together, 18 women collectively have accused both of those men of being sexual predators. And that's a rather stark sort of thing to think about and ponder. I can tell you this as well. Roy Moore, in that campaign ad that talked about, you showed just a minute ago, he said, the gay and lesbians are blah, 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 they're changing our country. Here's a dirty little secret, everybody. We've been around a really long time, like since the beginning of time. And no, we're not going back in the closet for you folks, and we're never going to have to listen to this kind of stuff again. I don't know whether or not Roy Moore is going to win or not. I think he will. He's bumped up in the polls, although there's a Washington Post poll that came out this morning that has Jones within the margin of error, a 3-point lead. So we'll see what happens there. But look, it's Alabama, and guess what? They like having conservatives in the Senate, so let's let them send one. Fine with me. That's Mitch McConnell's problem, not mine.
Yeah, and Amy, I want to read you just a little bit of the letter that Lee Korfman, who is one of the multiple accusers of Roy Moore, I believe she was the 14-year-old that when he allegedly accosted her, and she says this, and this was published in an Alabama newspaper. I'm not getting paid for speaking up. I'm not getting rewarded from your political opponents. What I'm getting is stronger by refusing to blame myself and speaking the truth out loud. What you did to me when I was 14 years old should be revolting to every person of good morals. But now you are attacking my honesty and integrity. Where does your immorality end? Amy, do you believe Lee Korfman?
Joy, it doesn't, I wasn't there. I don't know any of the facts. I was not there. You weren't there. I'm not here to judge these women or to call these women out. I am with Women for Trump, and we endorsed Roy Moore. I was at an event, Women for Roy Moore, 2 weeks ago. But this is the thing, is that Alabama's going to make the decision. And you asked the question, does it matter that President Trump's going there? I'm glad to see he's going there. But at the end of the day, I think Alabamians are going to decide. And what's, I think, really relevant here is that the people across this country are tired of Washington sticking their nose into everybody's business and trying to choose the candidates and the races. And I think this is a rebellion against Mitch McConnell and the $20 to $30 million that he spent. irrelevant. And so whether or not President Trump goes or not, I think that the people are still going to come forward, and I think they will vote for Roy Moore.
Let me just to go back to my original question. Do you believe the women who accused Bill Clinton back in the 90s?
You know, I mean, there's a lot of accusations out there. I'm not here to judge any of these women. I don't think that's right. I wasn't there.
But why
I'm not here to judge any of these women.
Why would a woman come forward and say that Roy Moore did this to her when she was a 14-year-old girl? You know, you don't believe them? You don't have an opinion on whether what they're saying is true? And if it's true, let me ask you this question, Amy. If it's true that he preyed on teenage girls when he was a 30-something-year-old prosecutor, does that immorality matter to you as a voter?
Joy, this is the thing, is that I myself and my family are victims of being accused of the most horrific, horrible things you can imagine for political reasons. There's still litigation going on in the state of Georgia.
And I
believe, no, I am. I believe in you're innocent until proven guilty. That is what this country is founded upon, and I believe that. I was not there. I'm not going to judge these people. I mean, that is not why I'm here. There's an Alabama Senate race, and regardless of what I say, you say, or what Jimmy says, or anybody says in the media, the talking heads, the Alabamian voters they're going to decide. And for us to pretend that they don't have the knowledge and the wherewithal to lay all this out in front of them and make the decision for themselves, that's just preposterous. These are smart, educated people, and I believe that they're going to decide what is best for them.
Jimmy, it sounds to me like Amy is essentially saying that that this doesn't matter to her. I mean, it sounds like there are a certain percentage of Alabama voters for whom the allegations of child molestation are irrelevant. There's a poll that comes out where it asks the question, who has higher standards of personal moral conduct? Right. Doug Jones wins that easily, 53% to 34%. So if Doug Jones is thought to have higher moral standards by a margin of 53 to 34, and yet he's only leading in the poll by a 3-point margin, is that an indication that there are some voters in Alabama who've just decided that they don't care about his morality?
That is exactly right. I find this a fascinating conversation for this one point. If, in fact, Roy Moore wins, and I think he will, and it comes out, and Amy's asking for proof, you know, innocent until proven guilty, and if there's, in fact, proof that Roy Moore did any of the things that he's accused of doing, will you stand by him, and will you still be, you know, women for Roy Moore? I mean, I just, would you support an ethics investigation? You know, we can have a conversation all day about Washington, D.C. and Mitch McConnell. Nobody in Alabama gives a damn about Mitch McConnell. I hate to break the news to everyone. But
I hate to break it to you, Jimmy. They absolutely do.
Well, let me hold on a second.
No, they don't. No, they don't. No, they don't. Let me finish. Let me finish.
Quickly, Jimmy, and then I want to have Amy answer questions.
Nobody cares about Mitch McConnell except in Kentucky. And just like you said, Alabamians vote for people running in Alabama. Kentuckians vote for people running in Kentucky. And that's a fact. And I don't care about Mitch McConnell in South Carolina or Virginia or anywhere else I live.
You may not, but
I do care.
Do.
I only care if you elect a sexual predator to the Senate.
Right.
That's what I have a problem with.
Time out. Let me ask Amy 2 quick questions. One question.
Yeah.
If Roy Moore gets elected and then proof emerges, proof positive, that he actually did molest the girls, would you change your support for him then?
Joy, we have stood beside him, and if he is elected, that is what the voters will choose.
So even if he was adjudicated to be a child molester?
Point here. This is the thing. If he is elected, there should not be any ethics investigations, and the reason is because these people are going to the polls knowing all the information that's been put in front of them. They have the wherewithal to make the decision.
Okay.
And should there become an ethics investigation and Mitch McConnell and his cronies try to expel him from the United States Senate, that's a very dangerous line that they're crossing, because
we're talking about if he's found guilty of child molestation.
People.
Okay, let's talk about another thing that we know that Roy Moore did. Okay, well, you know, if you can even say the words, putting aside child molestation, alleged child molestation, Roy Moore led the charge against removing segregation from the Alabama Constitution. That he definitely did. Does the fact that he did that impact your support for him, Amy?
Joy, I'm going to say this. First of all, we got involved in this race, months ago. We actually endorsed Mo Brooks. And then we came to the runoff, and now here we are. We are standing beside Roy Moore.
But can you just answer my question, Amy? Don't give me a speech, Amy. Answer my question.
I don't agree. There is not, including President Trump, that I agree with on every single issue.
Do you have Roy Moore leading the charge against removing segregation? It's really a yes or no.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'll put it back up on the screen. Let me put it back up so you know what I'm talking about. Roy Moore led the charge against removing segregation language. You know that Alabama has a history here. He led the charge against removing the language of segregation from the Constitution. It's pretty straightforward. Do you have a problem with that?
Can you tell me more about that? Because I don't know what you're talking about. Do I believe in segregation? Absolutely not. We're all the same. We're all Americans.
Okay, but you don't have a problem with it. So Jimmy, I'm going to give you the last word here because it does seem to me that there is nothing that one could say about Roy Moore that would move Amy Kremer and other supporters of Roy Moore off him. Really, actually, nothing. You haven't said there was anything.
I just wonder. I just wonder something. If Roy Moore actually, Donald Trump said I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I'd still get elected. He did. And if Roy Moore did exactly the same thing, they're going to stand by him because he's Republican. It doesn't matter. Listen, and I'm fine with Republicans owning Republicans. I'm totally okay with that. I just think that you have to, when you own them, you have to own everything about them. Literally everything. And if that means he's a segregationist or a homophobe or a misogynist, then you have to own that. That's your party. Your party is standing by someone that supports those things.
Okay.
But are you going to say the same thing about Democrats? Because that's one of the big problems in Washington, D.C. is that it's all about party politics.
I don't care about Washington,
and we need to look at
I care about
issues in America.
All right, I'm calling a timeout. The segment is over, but it does sound to me, Amy, like you're saying that you do believe that whatever allegations are against Democrats, because you just said that you can't judge when it's Republicans, but against Democrats you believe that whatever it is, and you think Democrats should be accountable for it. It's pretty extraordinary.
We as Americans, it is better for us to look at issues instead
of
being so
molestation is an issue. I hate
to
say it, but the protection of our children. I have kids. The child molestation,
and I do
it's
too.
kind of an issue.
I absolutely do. I have a daughter.
You have to. Wow. Well, you have to own the fact that that it doesn't bother you that this man might have molested children.
Can I just say one thing really quickly?
Very fast.
Can I just say one thing really quickly?
Yeah.
As a victim of child molestation, I think it's disgusting that Amy would actually support a child molester.
Well, we have to leave it there, unfortunately. And I never like to do that, but we have to, because in my ear they're saying that the segment is over. Jimmy Williams, Amy Kremer.
Accusations. He has been accused, not proven guilty.
That is true. Thank you very much. He has been accused of child molestation. Up next, international outrage. We're going to take it across the pond. How Donald Trump ticked off America's closest ally.